And welcome back to another episode. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But
who do we
before
have
we begin,
today?
there will be spoilers as we talk
Katelyn.
about major events
Let's
that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram
what book did you bring for us to talk about,
podcast,
and why'd you bring it?
And show your support on
obviously, I brought
Patreon
the
for early
Legacy
access
of
to episodes
Yangchen,
and other
the
additional
second
content.
book in the series with her, obviously by F.C. Yi. And I brought it because why else? We have to finish it.
Yeah.
You gotta get through it. You gotta talk about it. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the sad stuff. Gotta do it all.
Yeah. We did The Shadow of Kyoshi, The Rise of Kyoshi,
The Dawn of Yangchen.
The Dawn of Yangchen, and now The Legacy of Yangchen. Let's go. I'm super excited to hop into this. But before we do, we're going to play a little game. You are going to summarize this book in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Try your best, and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Yangchen reminiscing about some of her trauma with her sister, still dealing with that. We'll get more into that, what she does with the spirits and, pertaining to the spirit world. Then she travels to all the different nations, mostly the Water Nation, to speak to some of the leaders. She deals with the convocations of the Zongdus. There's a lot of politics involved with this one. A lot of trauma, a lot of healing. Deals with her finding out about some of the combustion vendors that we all know and love so well. And a lot of family issues. Very overall political. Very political and sad, manipulating book, this one is.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely go through a lot of, the 5 stages of grief, almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
All right, I'm going to summarize it for anybody who hasn't heard of this book. If you're here just to follow along, I recommend listening to the first podcast that we did because it kind of sets up. This book picks up right after, I want to say 6 months after.
I do believe it's pretty close to the ending of the first one because it does end with her continuing the search for her sister and all of that leading into being in the Northern Water Tribe and all that stuff. So it does very much pick up after she defeats the Benders in the first book. So we learn a lot about where they're at and how she deals with them, and it's very close.
Yeah. So I recommend listening to that podcast. You can kind of follow on. But if you're here just to hang out, just to vibe, let's get into it. So actually, I want to make a mention that I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names. They are very difficult, but I will try my hardest.
Yes, and if you do want the actual pronunciation, just go on YouTube and Google them.
Yeah.
Or listen to the audio. They do a great job.
They do.
Well, probably still going to say, what we're all used to hearing. So
yeah. All right, so Avatar Yangchen has succeeded in bringing a measure of stability in Benir, but her successes have been limited to a single city, and rumors concerning unanimity? Unanimity. I sound like Nemo.
It is a tough word.
Yeah.
I had to say it quite a lot before I was like, unanimity. Okay.
Unanimity. A weapon capable of complete destruction has led increasing tensions among the 4 nations. Desperate to restore, Yangchen attempts to de-escalate hostilities between the heads of state, but in the wake of brutal assassinations and the freeing of unanimity, Yangchen is forced to bring Kavik, the trusted former companion whose betrayal crushed her, back into fold. As the 4 nations teeter on the brink of conflict, and she must begin to unravel the power-hungry Zongdus' true agenda, Yangchen is forced to measure the worth of humanity and how much can be sacrificed in the name of balance.
Not a lot. Humanity kind of sucks.
Yeah. So
this one really does play on the troubles of humanity.
It does.
It's pretty bad what she deals with.
And I think we talked about it a lot in the last one, and it does, of course, dabble in it with Kyoshi's story, and of course Aang's story. But I think this one really goes into like that more in-depth avatar-ness.
It does, and we're starting off strong. I'm just going to do it.
Okay, I have a lot to talk about with that.
There is a part, I think it's pretty early on, scary to think about an avatar who's willing to go dark.
Mm-hmm.
How she really dabbles with how terrible humanity can be, and when she shifts in and out of like those voices and those different people that are inside of her, and then one of them comes out, and she's just starting to lose hope in humanity, and she's just like, what's the point? I can do 100 miracles and they'll be mad that I don't do 101.
Yeah.
And it's really tough that she dabbles with that, just the back and forth darkness. We see it in Korra, how we can have a dark avatar. They could do some damage if they really wanted to.
Exactly.
So we are really lucky that they don't just turn on the drop of a dime because of how terrible we treat them.
Yangchen's story is interesting one because she is so written in history as being this gentle leader, being almost worshipped for who she is. And her being an air bender, an air nomad, does have different ramifications on that. Like there's different hurdles that she has to go through than a Fire Nation or an Earth Kingdom.
They can almost get away with it, So
you almost expect it.
Exactly, and she has to balance grappling with how terrible humanity is growing and trying to pursue peace, but yet she really can't do that without coming across as not an air nomad and breaking the laws of her people. And it's tough reading the challenges that she goes through because you really feel it. When she goes into those moments of darkness, you're just like, oh my God, are you going to do it? Are you going to go to the Avatar state? Are you just going to blow up the whole, are you just going to blow up this whole building? You kind of want her to, at some points, because it's terrible how much people just don't seem to respect her.
And it's definitely an eye-opener for Aang, too. Because I think Aang, we have a different perspective on because he is a child. And he has been gone 100 years. So we have a little bit, almost have leniency, I guess, with his expectations.
Yeah, you do. You kind of do give him a little bit more leniency because he is so young and he has to make up for so much time. And in Yangchen, she goes from people not really even standing up for her in the first book, like when she enters a room, they're so reluctant to even acknowledge her.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they're slowly starting to, but you can still feel how just they look at her almost like she's still a child. And it doesn't make sense because she's fully realized as an avatar. She's staring at them going, excuse me? Are you not going to give me the respect I deserve because you have more money than me, because you have all these materialistic things holding you back and you think you're playing the game so much better than me?
Yeah, I like that we get to see her growth within herself, where she's not thinking of herself just as an avatar, but as somebody that almost kind of wants that power because she doesn't trust anybody else to have it.
Yeah, that's very true. She, towards the end, you can feel how she's changed, and after everything that happens, you can feel that shift in her, and she almost takes pride in the power that she now has.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which she rightfully deserves.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. She definitely has a lot of sacrifices. And not that all the other avatars before her haven't had those sacrifices. I think one scene that really kind of sums up what we've been saying is the scene when she is asking the people in the village for help because the landslide, I believe it was.
Yes.
And she's like, help me. And they all turn and run.
Yep.
And I actually have a quote that I wanted to bring up.
Yes.
It's not one of my favorites, but it is very, very good.
That's a really good scene. Yeah, let's hear it.
And so this is during that scene where she's asking people to help her because she's helping them. Avatarhood was a prize beyond kingship. She once read in a ancient philosophical trances. A single lucky life out of a generation triumphed in a greatest game of chance in the world. The rocks crush Yangchen further, slowly folding her in half. Like, oh God, it gives me chills.
It does. I mean, she's standing there holding a whole mountain behind her pretty much. I mean, and she's doing it to save these people of this village that she ultimately created, pretty much put that whole village together, the hospital and, all the little, shops and everything that they have now built around just outside of the Northern Air Temple, where they have that little village underneath.
Yeah.
And, she is doing everything to keep those people safe, trying to get them food and supplies. And now all of a sudden, Unanimity is blowing the mountain up and she's trying to save them, and they just run in the complete opposite direction. And if it wasn't for New Jin, she probably wouldn't have been able to held it that long. I mean, her teammates couldn't make it to her in time, and if it wasn't for New Jin, who knows what would have happened.
Exactly. And I think that's also a broadening statement for us as the readers and showing us how alone the Avatar is. And yes, they have their party, the Aang gang, you know, they have their people, but there's only one Avatar and there's only one person. And she has her other lives inside of her, but she's the only one in the world. It has so much weight on her and all this expectations on her. No matter how many people are around her, she is always alone.
Absolutely.
And it's so sad.
It is. And you really feel it in this book, her aloneness and how much she grapples with those back and forth dark thoughts and wanting to be, a good leader and work on her legacy as a good and just Avatar. But yet here she is fighting and battling all these things almost alone majority of the time.
Yeah. So, do you have any favorite quotes from this book?
I do. I have a few. Okay, so this one I'm going to reference because it almost is like a Game of Thrones type of quote. Just to put you in the perspective of just how much she's playing a game with all of these political leaders in this book. I think they had just gotten done playing Sparrow Bones because enemies in real life don't take turns with each other. I think she was talking to Kavik because he was like, well, what's our next move? You should slow down. We need to wait. And she's like, people in real life don't take turns, honey. I can't just stop. I can't just slow down. I can't wait for somebody else's move to go on the board. Enemies don't take turns. This isn't a game. Like in Game of Thrones, when you play the game, you either win or you die. It showed me just how much in that moment she did feel like she was a piece on a puzzle. And, she's like, I can't wait for somebody to put another piece down. I can't wait. I have to do what I need to do, whether or not I've slept for 3 days. They're not going to care whose turn it is.
I think this book really heavily talks about Pai Sho and Sparrow Bones. There are multiple scenes where they are playing these types of games. And then we also get to see her in the room with
the Zongdus. Yeah, she's playing with Chai-Si and Iwashi and he's obviously cheating. Yeah. And Kavik figures out he's cheating, but then to quote Toph, what's the matter? I cheated a cheater.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
So it's very political book, very political.
But I don't think it was overly. I think it's just the right amount to explain what the role of the Avatar is.
Yeah. It's different from all the other ones because Kyoshi was more trauma based. A lot of fighting, a lot of, turmoil within that she has to go through and not really about the politics of the Four Nations. She was just kind of on her own mission, whereas Yangchen really focuses on how she's got to let the Four Nations succeed, but also trying to break down all of the issues politically within. It's not overly political, but it is different from all the other avatars that we know about.
Yeah. I have kind of quotes throughout that I've brought. These were just the ones that kind of stood out to me. So one of them is, everyone wanted to write history, but there was only so much ink to go around. I think that is just it's just a short and sweet one. It's one that you would almost kind of miss if you're just kind of skimming through this book. But this one, it's just the most notable is the one that's going to be written in history. Yeah. And the little behind the scenes people don't get their glory that they deserve, because the one person can't do it alone. It takes a village, literally. Yeah. But it's always the ones that do the most or are most notable, the only ones that get recognized.
Yeah, that have the most influence.
Yeah.
Her legacy to be renowned as something, positive.
Yeah.
Whereas all these people are fighting against her, almost trying to turn it into a negative. these Zongdus, these higher ups, the leaders of the nations, they all want their turn with history. And it's like, all that really matters is my history.
Like, she's going to be the one, because she's the Avatar, it's all going to follow under her era, her legacy. So she just wants to have, not necessarily a footnote in it because of her, that she was able to turn it into something that was worth it in the end.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have another quote?
I do. This one's what she says, the purpose of life isn't convenience. Because everybody seems to be wanting to take the easy route. They just want their money. They don't care about the villages, the towns. They want their conveniences. They want what's easiest for them. And she's sitting there looking at all of them just like, the purpose of life is not convenient. We're not living in a world where you just get what you want because you want it, because it's convenient for you. Like, it starts the flow of the book, I feel like.
Yeah.
This is how she's going to have to fight with these people continuously throughout the book, because they're just doing what they want for themselves. And she's trying to see the four nations as a whole and fix the Platinum Affair, and all they care about is, what's most convenient to them. And she's up against all of it.
They're literally having a meeting because they need fresh water, like wells in the city.
Yes.
The leaders are like, well, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the funds for that. And she's like, I'm going to sell my belongings.
Yes, that's when she gets rid of her staff.
Yeah.
That's right.
This ancestral staff that's been in the Avatar cycle forever. And she's like, I'm going to sell my staff. You could sell your hat. You could sell your jewelry. You could sell this and that. Your materials that you don't need while people need fresh water.
Yep.
You have these expectations for your city because you are the head of it.
Yep.
Like, you have to be willing to take those sacrifices to keep everyone just alive.
Just alive. The survival, just the plainest survival things you could think of. It's inconvenient to them. It's terrible what she has to deal with these leaders, the stubbornness, just the greed of it all.
Which is a great aspect for this book because you get to see that. And I think that is a hard thing to show. Like in Aang's story, it's hard because he is 12 years old.
Yeah.
So there is like little to no respect for Aang, especially because he was gone for 100 years.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to show the political side of his story. And then with Kyoshi, she's so headstrong.
Yeah.
She don't care about nobody.
No, she doesn't. If you stand in her way, she's like, okay. And big rock.
Yeah.
And she
and building collapse.
Yeah, she was not caught up in the politics of it all, because she was like, you're going to give me respect or I'm going to take it.
Yeah, where Yangchen is that air nomad, but also that avatar, where she is a excellent portrayal of the politics behind the story.
Yes.
So my final quote I have is, love can sometimes be a weakness. Mercy could sometimes be cruel. I just really like that. Coming from Yangchen, too, is just it's almost brutal, because she is, as an air nomad, almost expected to have both of those in her weapons. Like, she needs to have love for her people and the world, as well as giving mercy to the people that deserve it. But there is a fine line between, like, what is she able to give?
People are now taking
exactly
from her.
Taking from her. Yeah. Where is the line? And I think she has a very hard time, especially in the first book, being able to balance that. I think she's definitely gripped it and, like, was able to control it a little bit more in this one. My biggest thing is Kavik. Yeah, I know, Kavik, man. Yeah. I think her approach to Kavik, we're going to talk about Kavik a lot in her relationship with him, but both of those really relate to him a lot.
Yes. And if not, it also goes to show just how much she's gone through, and the grief and the loss and everything that she's gone to in these last two books, for her to realize that you can't rely on love, you can't give out mercy, because the more you do, humanity is going to continue to take, and they're going to spin their story whatever way they want, despite your mercy on them, your love for them.
Absolutely.
So it does kind of show just how dark she almost feels inside.
And this is after, of course, spoilers. If you're this far, I don't know why you're here if you haven't read it, but we are going to spoil things. But when she lost her sky bison, yes. I think that was, first of all, so sad.
Yeah,
but
a moment for Nugent, because that I did not see that coming, not at all. I got to that part, and don't take this lightly. I'm not like wishing the death upon children or anything, but that child who essentially murdered her bison, you know, I was like, I'm glad that you're dead, because if you didn't die from trying to do that combustion bending, had that not essentially killed you, I'm sure Yangchen would have. There was no getting away with murdering her companion for life. So that, I was in tears. I did not expect that, not one little bit. So
it was definitely like out of left field. I didn't expect it, because it's almost like this expectations that you just don't touch the companions, like Appa and Momo and like, you know, Nagi. Like everybody is like, no touch. You don't touch them.
It is kind of out of place for the Avatar universe for FCE to be like, you know what? I'm going to kill off the Avatar's bison. And you're just like, what? What just happened? No Avatar wants to lose any sort of companion. You don't want anything like that to happen in any of the books. But had it been like Pick or Pock, you know, I'd have been super sad. But like, I was in tears reading this. Like I put the book down for like a couple hours. I was like, I need to process what just happened. Yeah. And you think back when Aang just had Appa stolen, not even killed, just stolen. And he just Avatar state, you know? Instantly. And if it weren't for Katara, he would have destroyed those sandbenders without a thought. Yeah. And to know the control that Yangchen has over her Avatar state is incredible.
Because she's been with her sky bison for so long, but also she like really didn't get time to grieve. No. She had, I think, maybe a day or two before she had to go back out and start doing the things that she needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, she had to go to the meeting with the convocation and talk to all the Zongdus, as they had one last meeting before all the leaders of the nations came and determined whatever final business that they needed to wrap up. And in the meeting, something got said and they all started laughing. And she's sitting there in the chair and she can just feel herself like letting go. I'm sitting there reading it like, yes, please, just let go finally. Yeah. Blow this whole building up, please. Like, you deserve to. After everything that you have gone through, out of all the disrespect that you have been shown, and now you're feeling like they're laughing at you with your grief that you're dealing with. That was tough.
One of my talking points is actually the grief that this book does come across, and the way that E is able to describe it is very well done. He has in his chapter called Bereavement, there is a quote that I want to say. She's talking about how she has to go back to quote unquote work, where she has to go back to those expectations. The obligations would still be there as you lost weight, startling yourself with the sharpness of your ribs, be there to remind you that you needed to eat, even just the bare minimum to keep your body moving forward. You can't serve me if you don't have your strength. Yangchen had swum in tides of grief before. It didn't matter how much you begged for relief. It didn't matter how nakedly you showed your weakness. The world, the work, would flay its dew from your hide, ripping off long, bloody strips. It would attach sticks to you like a puppet and force you to keep up the movements. As long as your outline was visible against the light, then good enough. Oh, God, it hurts.
Yep, and it's terrible to think about what she says for them, meaning humanity. She's got to suck this all up for humanity that she's not even sure that she believes in. Yeah. That they can do better and be better. Yeah. So she just has to suck all this grief up for them.
Like, she is balancing life and death, because she has never really processed losing Jetson. Yep. Yeah. And I do like that we do go into a little bit more detail. Like, she literally rips her sister's soul out of her body, and she has no process time at all to do that. We get to see her finally, again, spoilers, we do get to see Jensu in the spirit world, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, but it's just these moments where we get to watch Yangchen at her weakest and still see how strong she is. Yeah. Not necessarily even just like strength, but just like being able to control things that a human body shouldn't be able to. Yeah. Like, grief itself is
It is a very depressing book.
Oh my God, yes.
For all you Avatar fans out there, Yangchen is a very depressing story. It's not something to take lightly. I did write down a few words to describe the book. It is a very adult, mature book. This is something that I would even suggest to like high school level reading. You know, you always think of Avatar, The Last Airbender, you know, you think about it being such a fun, kid-loving show. These books really get down to the nitty gritty of emotions. I wouldn't give this to my, 11-year-old, nephew to read. I don't even feel like he'd fully comprehend it because it's such a more of an adult read for a book for the Avatar universe. It's very sad. It's very depressing. And if you're dealing with grief, could be, something that might help you.
Yeah. And not only just in the grief, but also the violence in this is a lot stronger. Like, even right there, like, it'll rip off bloody strips off of you. But this book is very violent. They kill a lot of people in this book.
Yeah.
And very, very gory ways.
Yeah.
Mature is a very good word for it. It is very mature, comparable to its sister books. So...
Yes.
Yeah, read with caution.
Yes, very much so. But it is a good read, so don't let that deter you, but it is definitely more of a heavier read.
Did you have any other quotes you'd like to share?
I believe this is Kavik remembering something that Yangchen had said to him. And it was, a person didn't rise in value simply because you know their name.
I was going to write that one down. It kind of ties back into that history quote that we had earlier.
Resonates with, like, today's standards.
Yeah.
Just because you think people know your name, it doesn't mean you're any better. You don't rise to any levels just because people know your name. Everybody knows Yang Chen's name. But where has that gotten her? What has that done for her? It only puts more pressure on her to do better, to rise to a higher standard, because now everybody knows her name. But it doesn't matter. People are still going to spin things and twist things to however it fits their narrative. It's really fun when Kavik remembers all of these teachings that Yang Chen says to him. Like, oh, don't boost yourself up because people are starting to know your name. That doesn't change the things that you've done to me.
Correlates back to also, like, you talked about Game of Thrones before, but even just titles, too. Rhaenyra, after her father has died, going from the crowned to the queen.
Yeah.
Those rulings that alter because of that. It's not that necessarily her name changed, but her title changed. And within that title change, more expectations are put on her. And now that she's coming, like, she's been hidden away on, where is she, on Castle Rock?
I think she said Dragonstone.
Yeah, Dragonstone. Living life. But the second that her dad died and everything that happened there, it's like, all that expectation is now shifted. That view has shifted over to here. And now she's just in the light and the war begins. And I love how strong.
No, absolutely. And they're completely different, stories and everything. Yeah. But that's how crazy and intertwined and political that this book, you can kind of put that presence to, because it's very Game of Thrones like. It's very your move against my move. It's what is this person going to do, or who's manipulating who to get to what higher level. And as I was reading through this, I was like, wow, man, this is kind of making me want to watch Game of Thrones again, because it's so on that level of chess. It was manipulating me as I was reading it, because I was like, I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea who's making what moves. Is Yang Chen making a specific move but telling people she's making another move?
Exactly.
And that's kind of a little spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that is a nod to Yi for his writing and his storytelling, is that he does a very good job at keeping the readers behind a door and being able to have a plan go out. And I think he did it a lot more in this one with the flashbacks than he did in the previous books.
Yeah.
There was a lot more going back and forth from morning to afternoon, and then to like one event to 2 weeks before.
Yes.
Like, he did a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, he did do a lot of time jumping, but it wasn't to the point where you're like, oh my God, really? Now we're going 2 weeks back. It was very subtle. Just enough to show you that you were hidden behind the door, that you didn't know really what was fully going on until he jumped back to, okay, last night, as Yang Chen's talking to Kavik, and you're like, yeah, what did happen? Yeah, that was 2 chapters ago where Akudan led him, to her room, and they were supposed to have a meeting, and then all of a sudden the next chapter was just another plan in motion, and you're like, wait a second, what did they talk about? And then he all of a sudden time jumps you back to that. So thrown off because he does such a good job at doing that writing. Yeah,
we'll talk a little bit more about the time jumps because it correlates to the end of the book. But so what are some things that you liked about this book?
The biggest things that I liked, because obviously this is why I'm an Avatar universe fan, the bending. The bending in this series was phenomenal. When Yang Chen, she's very secure now when she talks to people. So she creates that whirlwind around them, the tornado that keeps them inside and nobody can hear, you know, because she's talking to the water tribe chief. And he's like, you know, I have secure rooms, you know, that we could go to. And she's like, yeah, rooms with walls that have people behind them or people in them, you know. And she's like, no, I'm being more secure now. And he talks about how he remembers that she was like a little girl running through the, you know, halls, you know, running with his nieces and nephews. And she's not that little girl anymore. She's had too many secrets come out. Too many people betray her, you know, give her false information. So now she's just doing this whirlwind effect around whoever she wants to talk to make sure nobody can hear anything. And just the level of water bending. You know that Katara's a bomb water bender. You know, she does some things in The Last Airbender that is crazy, you know, with the blood bending and everything like that. But Kavik uses the spit in his mouth to create ice shatters that, you know, make that one guy go blind by shooting little ice daggers from his spit at him. Yeah. It's just crazy, the uniqueness when they're playing Sparrow Bones, how Kavik can just slightly, because Yangchen, she raises the temperature in the room, so people start sweating. So now the tiles are kind of moist. So then Kavik kind of freezes them slightly together so people can't pick them up. The uniqueness of the bending that has been portrayed in this book has just gone to a different level. And I love that.
Absolutely. It's not just your typical, let me shoot a rock at you, you shoot water back at me. It's very creative. And there are different, like you said, different aspects of it. And it makes you think of, like, what else can they do?
Yes. And that was the one thing with when you watch Avatar as opposed to reading the books, because the books just give you so much more detail about what bending can actually do. Because in the show, you know, they want to show you cool things, but they can't really get into that in-depthness, I feel like. They just want to get the scene, make it look like a cool fighting scene. But in the book, he can really fixate on when the White Lotus and Chai-Si's little minions finally fight, how they just are all almost assassin-like.
Yeah.
They use really indirect techniques so that even other people around them have absolutely no idea what they're doing, but are still bending at each other, because that's how mysterious and depictive and assassin-like that they can be.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. This one, the bending's a little bit more sneakier.
Yes.
It's not all like fanfare and the glitter and the glimmer and stuff. It's like, what are the sneaky things that they can do with it? And that's really cool, because we mostly focused on water and air, I think.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a little bit more fire and earth, but obviously they're not there.
Yeah.
So
it is kind of crazy to think, you know, because she is the Avatar and she can bend a lot of the elements. So you really kind of almost like Korra, how Korra focuses more on fire and earth, because Korra really only likes to bend 2 elements. It's crazy to see in this book, it's mostly water and air that we see a lot of. You get a little bit of earth here and there. Fire is almost non-existent unless we start talking about unanimity and the combustion bending.
And I don't know if that's more towards Yangchen, to be like, you know, she doesn't like the destruction of fire, just a specific thing within her own self that, like, why. But it would have been nice to, like, approach it. Like why doesn't she bend with fire as much?
That's a good point. I never really thought about that, because fire is kind of my least favorite element. The combustion bending is really cool. Is it really, considering they have to be tortured underwater to learn how to do it? You know, I mean, that's pretty intense when you think about it. I can't think of any other element where children are being taken to learn this ability and they're essentially tortured to learn how to do it. I mean, that's pretty dark.
It is. And that's another for Yi right there. Like, are you okay?
Are you
dude, are you okay? I definitely agree with the bending. I did like seeing the hidden away things, the things you don't see as much or even think about. Because I think that with the style of it being so kung fu and jiu-jitsu and stuff, it's very like physical. And you don't think about those little things that they can do. My biggest thing, I love the women in power.
Oh yeah. This is a full-on woman empowerment, this book. I love it.
And we got gay people, so
it's all around really good for all of that. I mean, you have the main villain is a woman, which you don't see very often. I mean, she is phenomenal at manipulating people, man. It is scary how good, because she was manipulating me in that book. I thought she had Yangchen there at the end. I thought Yangchen was going to be like, all right, you know, let's work together. And then eventually down the road, she'd get her. But no, man.
Yeah.
She almost got me.
So I really enjoyed the women of power. It was very refreshing to see. I loved the little cameo from the the moon spirits. Was it La and Tu?
La and Twee. Twee and La.
Twee and La. Yin and Yang.
Yes.
I love the little cameo. Hey guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when she was in the spirit world, she went to the northern, and she was around in the little glacier. It was really cool seeing that scene because I could completely visualize it.
Yeah.
Because we've been there with Aang. Princess Yue, I was able to like completely visualize it. But that scene when we're going to talk about the spirit world a ton, but that scene when she's coming back from the spirit world and she's like writhing on the ground as Kavik comes in, like that scene made me so sad. A little terrified of like, wow, again, she is so alone.
It showed what such a dark place that she was in, because she had good intentions to go find and look for her sister again, and she knew what she had to do, but her thoughts turned dark, you know, and it sent her to the darkest place in the spirit world. And she even recognized it when she woke up. She was like, oh, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
She's like, this is not how I've ever entered the spirit world before. Everything was just so messed up and dark, and like how in Korra, when Korra gets split from Jinora, and it's all terrifying and twisted on Korra's end, but Jinora's playing with the butterflies, you know, and it just really does go to show where she's at emotionally and how she's been struggling for so long.
Absolutely. That was one of the things I really liked. As sad as it was, I did really like that twist of that view on the spirit world, because we've always seen the spirit world as like this jungle or like these open fields, and it's almost not necessarily like sunshiny place, but nowhere near as this purgatory that we saw within Yangchen. Almost like she was walking around in hell. Essentially what it was. Yeah. So it was really cool to see that different aspect with Yangchen. It was just so well written. Like the book was so well written. It's such good pacing.
And nothing against the Kyoshi series. Kyoshi was a little slow for me. You know, it took time to build up her story, whereas you are in it from the get-go with Yangchen. You can feel just every emotion that she's going through. You can feel the story progress. You're feeling the suspense of everything, and you're like, oh my god, what happens next? Oh my god, what happens next? Yangchen was a constant on the go. Like I said, she couldn't wait. She couldn't wait for turns to be taken. She was constantly taking her turn, and you were there with her every turn she was going to.
This one, it helped because we stayed focused with the plot the entire time. With Kyoshi, we followed a lot of different people around.
That is so funny you say that, because one of my likes with this book, there was not a lot of characters in this story. It was really focused on the main plot.
Yeah.
Where we had to get to, what we needed to be successful at. We got to find out where unanimity is. We have to figure out who's manipulating them, how they're doing it, where they're keeping them. And it was really mostly Yangchen and Kavik. You know, with a little characters thrown in, but not enough to where your focus is being split.
Exactly. Yeah. I think with Kyoshi, it was hard because it was not only the first book in the Avatar series, but in the written ones. Yeah. It is the first book where we have to kind of like, there's so much world building that we have to do. So it makes sense that like why we have to follow like what was that guy's name?
Oh, her earthbending teacher?
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. His name is eluding me right now. You can kind of see, because when you read Yangchen, I mean, she's trying to put the four nations back together. And then when you get to Kyoshi, the nations are open again. He's a huge part of, like, destruction of things.
Yeah.
So he's almost destroying everything that Yangchen has put back together.
Exactly, yeah. We'll give him the grace that he did have to put a lot more world building in Kyoshi, where this one, I feel like we understand the world. Now we're just trying to get the plot together.
Yeah.
So I would see the grace in there. But this one, I just really like that there was just more focus. We were all like on the same street and the same road.
Agreed.
Just getting through the story.
Agreed. Very much agreed. Yeah. We touched on it, because we talked about how mature the story was. And I really enjoyed the matureness of the whole story.
Me too.
I really loved that he kind of took it to the next step up, dealing and battling with loss and trauma, like everything all together. I did feel like I was reading like a very adult book, and I enjoyed that very much. It felt really good to read a great novel that really hit on some tough points.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely agree. That it was just the right amount too. Like, I don't think he went like too much into detail or like prolonged things a lot. Like, I think it was just right.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
All right, now on the flip side of the coin, or the pie show tile, if you will. What are some things that you disliked?
What I disliked, you knew who the villain was, but at certain points, because there wasn't always a villain involved, you did kind of lose sight at who she was actually battling. You knew that unanimity was there, and Chai-Si was kind of the one in the background, but it was a lot of her chasing down information and dealing with a lot of the heads of state. With Kyoshi, you knew exactly who she was trying to get revenge on. So Yangchen felt like the politics made you kind of forget about who the real villain was until she gets talked about again. Because Chai-Si ultimately was the villain. There is such a lapse in that I did kind of forget that she is dealing with a villain, you know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my biggest thing. Also wish that the White Lotus, they had a good role in the book, but I wished it was a little bigger. Because Kavik had to report back to them, but there were such lapses in him, like, reporting back to them, that it was like all of a sudden he was going back and talking to them. And you're like, well, wait, you didn't talk to them for like 10 chapters. Gotten them intertwined a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because Yangchen hated them. So I would have liked to see her speaking with the White Lotus and giving maybe more false reports to them and manipulating them a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I will say, I know we talked about how the bending was super cool, but there were lapses in the bending too.
Yeah.
There were lapses, chapters where there wasn't really a lot of bending even going on at all. But then when you got the cool bending, you were like, all right, finally. Because the plot was put together so well, there were little lapses in, like, not enough bending sometimes. Threw it all at us at once because he was probably like, oh yeah, I should probably throw in some bending, And they're not even that big of dislikes. They're just kind of small little, would have liked to see a little more of.
Yeah, no, I have those exact points of mine as well.
Hey,
so.
all right, see?
It kind of gives the vibe of Harry Potter is like, if I was a wizard, I would be doing magic consistently all the time.
Right,
If I was a bender, I would be doing magic all the time. Or bending all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would even like when Iroh warmed up his tea, like even like little mentions of that. As much as I do love that we do get to see moments of these little bendings, even like everyday use, I would like to see it a little bit more. Maybe she brings water over to the pot to bring it in or something like that. I will give the benefit of the doubt. It is supposed to be like a very political, so it's like she doesn't want to express this power right now.
Yeah, she's trying to stay pretty hidden, and I get that she's not trying to stand out, so the bending isn't always there at the times.
A couple I had was, even though I absolutely adored that we stuck to one plot, there were moments where not a lot was going on. But with this being like the finale of Yangchen's legacy of her story, I would have liked a little bit more. And I think those pockets of times would have been a good moment to give more insight on Yangchen, maybe some more flashbacks with her sister.
In the first book, and even kind of in the beginning when Kavik comes back to her, companionship, they talked a lot about how she does have these people come out of her when she's asleep or stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden in the middle of the book, it just dropped off. I wanted to get to the bottom of that. Like, who was really speaking through her? What did that really mean? None of that got kind of resolved. It was just kind of, oh yeah, she goes through these bouts. People talk through her.
Yeah.
Now
that you're mentioning it. They mentioned it like, I think twice.
Yeah.
The whole thing. It wasn't like previous Avatar. It was just people from the spirit world. And I really wish we would have dived into that a little bit more.
Or it was other companions from previous avatars. It wasn't even them themselves. It was like a companion of theirs.
Yeah.
And things that she could remember through her lives, but it was never really addressed like fully who they were, what they meant, other than the part where she is with Kavik and she's saying, you know, oh, if I do so many things for them, it's not going to be enough. And she's speaking out of like this hatred, this darkness, you know, and I think that was the last time that she actually has anybody speak through her.
There was no like conclusion to it.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of just push it out. Anyways, so this is a little like nitpicky thing. It's not that I don't like it. It was just something that like took me out of the story a little bit. So they mention the pressure point ability that Ty Lee has. And they specifically mention in the story that they've never seen that before, but they didn't really care because Kavik got the pressure point happen to him, and he didn't really care that he lost his bending. They kind of just moved on.
Yeah, he was just like, well, I hope my bending comes back.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I would be a little bit more freaked out if I just all of a sudden couldn't bend and was just like, yeah, I really hope it comes back. You know, like,
yeah. Like Katara even has like, that terrified her.
Yes.
And she has that moment of weakness where she tells us, you know, that terrified me.
Yeah.
But Kavik, it's just not there.
Funny you bring that up because it was such a small little glimpse into the chi blocking, because they find a little boy and a little girl on the island where they tortured the firebenders to learn the combustion bending, and the boy had the ability but the girl did not, but she learned how to chi block. She does it to Kavik, and I did on page 217. I was like, the start of chi blocking, can only firebenders learn it?
Right.
Because essentially it was, you know, Chai-Si taking all these people, mostly firebenders, to learn the combustion bending. But if they didn't have the ability to do so, they learned chi blocking. And that's really weird because Ty Lee is a firebender who learned chi blocking. But in the book, Yangchen, she goes, they shouldn't know these pressure points. This is air nomad history. They shouldn't know these things, these acupunctures, you know. So it's all this weird intertwining of Fire Nation taking things from air nomads and tweaked it into using it now as a weapon.
Ty Lee's not even a firebender. She's just from the Fire Nation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's just a Fire Nation. So is it really only Fire Nation people who dive into the chi blocking? You know, it's never really established in Yangchen. It's almost just kind of, oh yeah, here's some chi blocking for you guys, and then that's it.
It's kind of like when Kyoshi fought that guy and he did lightning bending. In the first of the Dawn of Yangchen, it's the first time we see the combustion. It's almost like Yi wants to put little like memorabilias in here, and then they don't really talk about it, because we talked about it in Kyoshi that they mentioned the lightning bending, but then never really mentioned it again.
These abilities just get forgotten about, and then all of a sudden they pop back up when Aang's around, because I mean there's so much more. I mean, we still have Kyoshi, and then we still have Roku, we have Kurik even still, that, you know, you still have 3 other avatars before Aang. It's almost like they have such a focus on what they're dealing with right now that she's kind of like, I can't care about this chi blocking right now. It's not really a thing. And like you said, I think he might just be mentioning these things to give his fans a reference to the OG. Hey guys, no, look, I threw in some chi blocking for you, you know?
Yeah. So you'd mentioned the White Lotus. So I do like that we dove into the White Lotus a little bit more. They start talking about Pai Sho as well, which I didn't know that Pai Sho wasn't an actual thing. They made it up for this, just for Avatar. Because I was looking it up and I was like, what the heck is a White Lotus tile? And like, what is Pai Sho?
It's very intricate. I've tried to figure out how they play, but
it is a game that's made up for the Avatar universe, and the rules are not written down. So people have like tried to put together based on the media that we have to describe what Pai Sho is, but no one knows how to actually play the game. If you would, for a moment, describe to us what the White Lotus group is.
So the White Lotus is actually supposed to be a group that is neutral. So their neutrality is supposed to serve the 4 nations themselves. They are supposed to gather information and help almost protect the citizens within the 4 nations without being biased, without taking sides, without listening to any specific rulers, any leaders. They're just a non-biased and neutral group that help maintain the balance, almost like the Avatar themselves.
Yeah. And I think that, because I've never really looked up the White Lotus and like why it's so significant to have such a broad name for this group of people, of old men, if you would.
Old men and women.
And women. One thing I always hear is like, the White Lotus, why do they wait so long to do anything in the war? Because you don't really see them in Aang's story until like the very, very end. Like,
you don't see them in Kyoshi at all.
True.
I thought about it even today when I was preparing my notes. They blip in and out, when they want.
I have this little insert here about the White Lotus, specifically that tile. From its position in the center, the White Lotus tile could dominate the near spaces in each quadrant. Played too early, the move would have been so terrible that the only conceivable purpose would be to signal to the opponent. She saved it for the mid-game, where it could distort the final shapes of the board unchallenged. Well, like it says, played too early.
There we go.
You're only giving signal to the opponent. But I would love to see, like, I would love a whole White Lotus just story. Not enough. Never enough.
No. People really think because of the OG, with Iroh and, like, Boomy and Fave guys from the OG, you think the White Lotus is this awesome group, but in reality, they're kind of shitty.
Yeah.
They're really not as good as people think they are. Despite what people think, they're not on the side of the Avatar, because they're supposed to be neutral. At every step of the way, they're just trying to gather information, not to hurt her, but really not to help her. And they don't really help people like a lot of us think they do. Yeah. They sneak around in the background and they try to use people for their benefit. It's kind of hard to read when you're just like, well, why aren't you helping? Why aren't you giving her information? Because, well, they can't. But in the end, they wanted unanimity for themselves.
Yep.
Because they felt like they were better than everybody else and they were going to have that secured for themselves. How is that not being biased? Now, you are now in control of the strongest power,
exactly.
in the Four Nations. There's this really fine line, I was thinking, between the White Lotus and the Red Lotus. At the drop of a hat, one of them could turn and be like, yeah, no, the Avatar isn't fair.
Yeah.
And her power shouldn't be in this world because it's not fair to everybody else. There's just one little switch and they could be now the Red Lotus, like Zahir and his gang.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as good as you think they are, people. They got some underlying, issues that don't really serve good purposes, I don't think.
Yeah, I just would really love to see a little bit more insight of like what is the structure of the White Lotus. To me, it's just so intriguing. The purpose of the White Lotus and in this like almost painted image it has of itself, where we think because Iroh and Boomy and everyone's on it, like all of our grandpas are on there, so obviously we're going to support it, but it's like, how good are they actually?
Exactly.
So... because, they helped Ba Sing Se when the final act happened, and you see them doing all this cool firebending, but it's like, yeah, but were they really helping for the Avatar and being that aid, or were they doing it for themselves because they wanted it back?
They're very secretive, and I know that's group is intended to be, is a very secretive, almost underbelly group that gets all their information in secret and hides out in all these safe houses and has all these people stationed everywhere. But like I said, easily turn and use that to their advantage and take down all the leaders of the nations, take down all the Zongdus and sway all the citizens to the way that they want to. And now the Avatar has to go at it with them and essentially fight with them and be like, well, what the heck? You guys are supposed to help me, or at least try to help me, Yeah. And they're all like, nope, we do what we want. Yeah. Why do you get to do what you want?
Exactly.
I'm the Avatar, and I have so much power in the world, and I can't even do what I want. So what makes you guys of this secretive group think you can sneak around and do whatever you want?
No, I like that this book definitely brings focus to it, because I never even thought about the White Lotus before. I was just like, yeah, all the old people go there and hang out and wear their little outfits and drink tea and play pie shelf.
And it's almost like just gossiping. You know, but this one, it's so much more in depth that they want to know what Chai-Si is up to. They're trying to get Kaleon, you know, they're trying to get Kavik's brother, but then they don't care because then they eventually just use Kavik as bait to get his brother to lead them to unanimity. Like, they have their own agenda.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what that agenda is, good or bad. So you can't sit here and fully 100% say that the White Lotus is a good and just group. You really don't know.
Yeah. So who would you say in this book is your favorite character?
Junjito was my favorite character in the first one, and he's my favorite character in this one.
Yeah.
He is such himself, and his confidence within his self, even going through the trauma and everything that he's had to deal with on his own. Up until the very end, he's still like, Kavik, I mean, I'll kill you if I want to. You know, like, you betrayed the Avatar. I'm using you because we need to right now, but if it weren't for her, you'd be dead. And I fully am like, yeah, I support that. You know, like, I totally support that. Like, if it weren't for Kavik, a lot of these events would not be taking place. You can't fault Junjito feeling the way that he feels and being 100% companion of the Avatar, and the way that he talks to those two kids on the island, being able to relate to them. Like, I've been in your situation. You all think that he, you know, the whole time you think he's just this angsty, almost like angsty teenager, you know, that walks around and he's just like, I'll stab you, you know.
He's got his hood up.
Yes, and realistically, he knows how to use the trauma and the things that have happened to him to ultimately get these two little 12-year-olds to drop their guard, drop their defenses. And he talks to them in a way that even Kavik is like, whoa, where did that come from? He's just always been my favorite character because he is just 100% behind Yangchen, and his actions are never in question. You know what he's going to do. You know whose side he's on. You know, Loyalty, absolutely. That's the word I was looking for. He's 100% loyal, and he's grown as a character.
Yeah. Like,
a lot. From being, like, the angsty teen to, if he wasn't on the team, they'd be screwed. Yeah. You know, his assassin-like abilities to sneak around in the shadows, and if it weren't for him getting to Yangchen ultimately at the end of the book, telling her, hey, this is how we get Thapa. Yeah. You know, this is what you got to do. If it weren't for him, they wouldn't have been able to do it.
And you know, a little part of him loved stabbing Kavik.
Oh, absolutely he did. Oh, he did. That's Kavik's like, you didn't have to stab me so hard. And he's like, I told you it would hurt. You know, like,
he's like, I kind of want to go back in for a second.
Yeah, he was like, I told you what would happen if you betrayed the Avatar. And I'm sitting there like, but wait, did he? But yeah, he kind of did. Yeah. Because they didn't really know what he was up to. So yeah, he kind of did in their eyes betray her. But then, you know, when you finally figure out the whole extent of their plan, I was just like, oh yeah, that probably felt so good for him. He's been wanting to do that for like the whole 2 books.
Yeah, he's been doing it with a smile on his face. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think he definitely shone through this one. Because we get to learn about his past, but we don't because he doesn't let them in. It's why I wish we had a 3rd book so we get to see a little bit more of the characters. My favorite is definitely Yangchen. She just shone in this one. Like, she came out of her shell. Like, but not necessarily because she went into her shell, but, you know, like, as the reader, we get to see so much more of her.
You resonate with her very much in this book. Like, yes. You know, with Kyoshi, you know that she's angry and follow her journey and you can feel for her. But, like, with Yangchen, like, parts of your life, just what she goes through, like, you can almost feel yourself being like, I know exactly how she's feeling. Yi does such a good job with making you get into those emotions. And yeah, like you said, she really does. She comes out, but she goes in and you can feel it every time she goes through something. You're right there with her.
Absolutely. I love her attitude that she has, and I just love her commitment and her dedication to her people. She is an air nomad. You can see it. As much as she's an Avatar, she's an air nomad. And like when she got kicked out of her home and she just took it, she knew what was required of her. And she just, it's so sad.
I don't really agree with that part. I get why they did it, but to completely exile her from her home, I mean, she brought violence upon their temple, I get it, but she was only doing, what was in her power to do. I mean, they knew what those firebenders could do. Where was she going to put them? What was she going to do, And the fact that all that violence besaken them, like, I get it, you know, he had no choice but to tell her never to come back for the sake of the temple, but she didn't mean for that to happen. You know, she tried everything in her power to not let that happen. To be honest with you, if it weren't for Kavik and his stupid brother going in there and assassinating Henshi, like, this wouldn't have gone to the point that it did, you know? So I hated that part. That was not fair.
Yeah, it was very brutal. And I guess you could give like a little devil's advocate is like, if it was anybody else, the expectations were still there. She doesn't get a free pass just because she's the Avatar. But also, give her a free pass.
She's the Avatar.
Yeah, I applaud them doing what they're supposed to be doing, but also it's like she's the Avatar. Like, you guys wouldn't even be here without her.
Right, so. And do you not realize all the things that she's juggling and trying to balance and all the things that she has done? Like
she is able to go to the other air temples. Like, she's just exiled from that specific one.
But that's her home, yeah. You know? Like, that's where, you know, she lost her sister. That's where she got Nugin. Like, she does tell Kavik, not like I don't have other temples to lay my head. Yeah. But still, to know that you can't go back to your true home because you made some mistakes. And it's almost like they're making her have to relive those mistakes for the rest of her life. And that's so unfair.
And she doesn't even get a chance to fix her mistake. It's just go. You're exiled. You have to leave.
You have to leave right now.
It almost kind of teeters on the air nomad because they're all about giving that forgiveness and being able to forgive someone. And it's like, well, you didn't really give her a chance. And like, I don't know if she ever got a chance to go back because we don't really know anymore about Yangchen's story. It's like, did they ever let her return home? Is it like a, you know, leave for 6 hours type deal? Or is it?
Especially knowing her legacy was gentle. She put the 4 nations back together. I mean, because she did all that, eventually was she allowed to go back to the Northern Temple, like, because she was so renowned for all the things that she eventually did within her lifetime, within her avatarhood. We don't know, and that kills me. We don't know, but you know, just to know that she was exiled, to be probably the only Avatar who's ever been exiled from somewhere is just terrible, because she just loss after loss. It's just the whole book, something is taken from her.
Yeah, and I think that's why Yangchen is my favorite character, is because in this hardship, she still prevails. Even though she gets everything taken from her and she has sacrifices after sacrifices, even though she is a puppet on a string, she does go forward. You get to see that like internal process about it. I'm very glad that Yi did go with like a third view, because we do get to see multiple different characters, but we do get to see Yangchen and get to see that inside, and like being able to watch her sit in this room with all these people and just think, why are people like this? And like you get to resonate with that thought with her, because you're sitting there like, oh my god, why are people like this?
Yes, so, you know, because you feel it yourself. You know, you're like, oh my god, people are still like this. This is horrible. You know, like, what have we learned, really? What have we moved from? You know, not very far.
Yeah, exactly. All right, gonna take a second here to shout out the Patreon subscribers.
Thank you, guys. All right, so I got an awesome list here. We have a Nick W, we have a Breed P, an Ashley A, Tim O, Anastasia R, Janeth P, Emily P, Patrick C, Jack J, Mike T. We have a Tracy H, Stephanie A, Hunter H, Emma H, and a Lulu.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. It means the absolute world to me. I enjoy doing this, and it's pretty cool that a couple people are listening to it. Let's go.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I enjoy doing this too. It's something I look forward to, and we still have the Reckoning of Roku we gotta do. We're moving on with it. It's not going anywhere.
So we have a Reckoning of Roku and the Awakening of Roku.
Oh, so there's 2 now.
Confirmed the 2 of them.
All right, yes. And then obviously, you know, we got comic books. You know, we still have OG stuff that we can get into, you know.
Oh my goodness.
If you guys are listening, I'm down to continue, so.
If you guys want to be part of the Patreon shout out, head over to Patreon and subscribe today. Alrighty, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Are you Team Kyoshi or Team Yangchen?
Oh boy, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, but I am Team Yangchen. I love Kyoshi. Yeah, I love her story. Yangchen, those air nomads, they get to me. Mm-hmm. They do. And I'm sure, who knows? Roku could sway me. I don't know. Roku could sway me. But yeah, right now, Yangchen, she's my heart right now. She's dealt with a lot. Not that Kyoshi hasn't, but she had a more support system. Yangchen kind of did deal with a lot, and she could trust her team, but she got betrayed a lot. Did feel like she was quite alone. Kyoshi always had Rangi, always knew that she had support. I am Yangchen. She deserves to be known as the gentle, the bringer of the four nations back together. She definitely did her job.
Absolutely. Yangchen is just a girl, okay? She's just a girl trying to figure it out.
Yep.
I think Kyoshi has such a... Not to say Yangchen doesn't have strength. I will never say that. But Kyoshi has the strength about her that makes you believe she's got it figured out. She knows what she's doing. She's just the stubborn earthbender that's 7 foot tall and wears a bunch of makeup. Like, she almost hides behind it, where Yangchen is just her, and she's in front of you, and she has that symbolism with her arrow and in the shave head, where she is just out for everyone to embrace, and she doesn't get to hide behind the makeup. That Yangchen has such a strong story because of that, and because of who she is. And again, her sorrow background and like the things that she's had to overcome. It's a tough question for sure.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I know everybody loves Kyoshi.
Yeah.
She gets depicted as just, such this super strong Earth avatar that's just don't take no crap from no one. I love that about her. I do. But Yangchen goes very deep.
Yeah.
She really makes you question even just like things within yourself. And while you're reading the book, you really feel. Kyoshi's more anger and loss, where Yangchen, all of it. Yes.
Yangchen has definitely made... I'm doing a leg sleeve of Avatar. She's definitely made the sleeve.
Nice!
I'm definitely getting her done.
Since Yangchen is a little bit of a darker kind of book, there is one cute thing that I really do enjoy when Nugent and Feng Bao, the brothers, the siblings, are playing with each other, and they're swirling around each other in the air and playing like siblings do. When Kavik and Junjinta go on that little mission with Yangchen to go find that island.
Yeah.
They go up to him and they're just trying to get his attention, because they both love him, and Yangchen laughs, and she's just like, I could make him pretty much kill you with the drop of a word, like, y'all think that he loves you so much. Well, he loves me the most. Peppered in cute little scenarios that happen, and it's not all dark, people. There's some cute stuff in there too. But so I had to bring that up. Wouldn't want to be best friends with a bison.
Absolutely. That is what's missing, is like, it is so straightforward and like very dark that there needs to be those moments where it breaks up the tension, like comedic relief. Like we had with what's the husbands' names?
Akudan and Taigon?
Yeah, Akudan. Like we get to see a little bit of them. And I do like that they branched out a little bit about their history as well. How they used to be like war veterans almost. Now they just own a little shop.
Yeah.
So I do like that they branched out a little bit about them, and it was cool to see them interact with each other. And yeah, just moments of like comedic relief I feel like was needed. Kyoshi, we had that old guy. He
the crazy old guy would pop in and out, and you're like, what
are you doing here? Yeah. He definitely helped a lot. And I think this one was definitely missing those moments. For some reason, I found the fake dating kind of funny.
With Kavik. I did. Yeah. I really enjoyed their play on that. But even then, she made it very strategic.
Yeah.
Everything was so put perfectly into its places, but they played on that really good.
Yeah, like when the innkeeper brought the food up and she was like putting her clothes back on and Kavik was sitting in the room. Like, it's just like those little details that they did so well on. Yeah. Like, almost sell the story that they're trying to sell. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a little funny.
It was definitely funny, because she's like, let the rumor spread.
Yeah.
Let it spread, because then other people are going to be focusing on things that I don't need them focusing on.
And it's so political. Like, you make the gossip spread so they'll stop focusing on what you're actually trying to do.
She makes everything work in her favor.
Yeah.
It's crazy. She's so good at it.
So who would you say in this book is your favorite relationship?
I'm going to go with Yangchen and Chai-Si.
Okay.
I enjoy their relationship because they're both playing the game and they both know that they're playing the game, but they don't know to the extent of what each other knows.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're around each other a lot. I mean, because now that, Yangchen is taking control of Bin-Er and Chai-Si has Jeonduri and, like, she has unanimity, she's playing all her cards to try to get Yangchen almost on her side so that she can get what she wants. But Yangchen is playing all her cards to stay close to her to get what she wants. And at the very end, when, Yangchen finally has her in her, like, clutches, and then she's down on the ground, please, save me. And you could just almost feel the triumph in Yangchen, I got you. Yeah. Finally, I got you, but I had to go through all this just to get you,
Jump through all those hoops.
So their relationship as, antagonist and protagonist are just great.
No, I definitely agree. Core of the story is them at the back and the forth. And it's really cool to see them together. Because normally it's two enemies, Westeros and then a wall. You have two people on completely opposite ends trying to fight each other. But it's there's no tension because they're so far away from each other that it'll take them forever. They're in the same room doing the same game together.
Yep.
And it's counter move after counter move. So it's very cool to see that aspect of it. My favorite, I will say, honorable mention, I did like Yangchen and Kavik in this.
Well, you have to. Despite how toxic they are, you do have to give them an honorable mention. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't necessarily, I don't ship them or anything like that. I just liked that there was no trust between them. I liked that she didn't forgive him. Even though she is an air nomad and their entire thing is about forgiveness, she does not do it. At least not until literally the very end.
Literally the very last sentence.
Yeah, she's all right, come on.
Fine, okay, you've done enough.
That she knew that Kavik was a spy and knew that everything that she was going to be done, which just again shows how smart she is because her enemy is getting all the information about it.
And she still comes out on top.
Yeah, it's so good. My actual relationship is Yangchen to her avatarhood.
Very nice.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that Yangchen was quite literally on a bridge between it, where she, at a degree, she understood and recognized that she was the avatar, but there was always that, there's something about it that I want to step away, and I can't do this. Being the avatar is so glorified because of the power that it has that no one ever thinks about the sacrifices that it requires. And we see it again and again and again. Kyoshi, Yangchen, Roku, Aang, Korra, everybody showing us how bad it is and how much it sucks to be the avatar.
Well, because half the time you're not even getting truly the respect that you deserve.
No.
Treat the avatar the way that you do. You want us to do all these things for you, but when is it ever enough? And then as soon as I make a mistake, they fault you for all their misgivings. Yes. For everything that's wrong in their lives, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You have nothing to do with it, but they can blame it on you because of who you are.
And this is even at the beginning. The second you are born, it is your era. Anything bad that has happened is in your era. It is your fault.
Yep.
So even from the last Avatar, even when Aang was gone for that 100 years, it is his era. It is his fault.
Yeah. And when he came back, everybody was like, and we hate you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wasn't even here. What?
Yeah. It's just, it sucks so much. And it's how far are you willing to go for that power? And if you truly knew what that power costs, would you take it?
No, I'd be dark, I swear. I was when I was reading this, there were so many times that I was I commend Yangchen for not going into the Avatar state. I mean, she goes in the Avatar state, twice in the whole book?
Yeah.
Where Korra was just and Avatar state, and Avatar state, Avatar state, and you're just what? And Yangchen had such control over it, that you were just dude, you're teetering on this humanity, being good or bad. Do I save them? Do I not? And you're still sitting there with control over this immense power and not destroying the whole world, you know? even after people don't give you the respect that you deserve, not standing up when you enter a room. Like, it's just, it's insane that she's dealt with just the amount that she has sacrificed, and the avatarhood, like you said, that she's teetering with. And,
I just really enjoyed her view on it and being able to, like, power isn't, and I don't necessarily think it's because she's an air nomad, it's just who she is and the experience that she's had, that it's such a refreshing look on being the Avatar. I really enjoyed reading her perspective on being an Avatar.
And it's almost kind of like Aang. Aang didn't want it. Mm-mm. He ran away from it too. Air nomads have such grasp of nature and the world and the universe, and what they want to do and what their culture does, which is non-violence and giving love and having mercy and not eating animals, and having this love for the whole world itself. But then when you become the Avatar, that has to change. It has to. You don't have a choice, because you have to make decisions that normal air nomads don't have to deal with. Yeah. And I feel like the air avatars have it so hard on just, their person as themselves, their characteristics of who they are inside, because they have to deal with, stay within their culture or taking the responsibilities fully as an avatar.
An avatar air nomad, your job is literally to embrace the hate, because that's all it is like, there are moments where you are worshipped for being the Avatar, but it is like a dime. It is so quick of how fast it can change, and it's all based on you.
Yeah.
And again, we said in the other podcast, these are all children. They are children making these decisions. And they get faulted for that.
Yeah, and then they get chastised for being a child. And it's like, well, then don't tell me I'm the Avatar until I'm like 21 or something.
Yeah.
Like, or I figure it out on my own, like, don't chastise me because, yes, I am still a child, but yet you want me to make these decisions for the whole world. Like, how is that? That's just not fair.
Yeah, that's just like one of my biggest things about Avatar, and like one of the things that really bothers me is like this just like the Avatarhood and the fact that it is forced on children. And like, yes, it's a good storytelling ability, and like, would I like to see more adults making these decisions? Like, I'm really hoping that Roku's story is a little bit older, that he is maybe like mid-20s.
I agree. I do. I would like to see more of a story with not a middle-aged, Avatar, but somebody who's 20s. Maybe it just plays on their upbringing very quickly. Almost like you're reading like a diary or a journal. His venture into Avatarhood, and now he's mid-20s, and this is how the story begins.
Like, we know so much about Roku already.
Exactly.
Because of Aang's story. It's like, what? I'm very intrigued to know where it takes place.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into it right now, because we're going to have a whole segment about it. So, the ending. You know what? I'm just going to go out and just start talking about this, because I was kind of shocked about Chai-Si's son being...
That is literally my note right here.
Being like Kavik's nephew. So Kaleyn just being like, yo, you an uncle.
Like, oh yeah, that's my baby. I'm the baby daddy. Yeah, that's me. And he's just like so nonchalant about it.
So nonchalant.
Just like, oh yeah, Chai-Si's kid. Oh yeah, that's me. That's mine.
Like, where's the paternity test? I need proof. This man lies through his teeth all the time.
That is literally what I wrote down. Father, Kaleyn, WTF? Like where did that even come from? Like, I just, oh my gosh.
I don't even understand the importance of it. What was the point? Because the Fire Lord isn't the father? Like,
I don't know, probably just to like show just how intertwined the two of them are together now, and how much he knows about really what's going on, and how he ended up really being her right-hand man, and almost to manipulate him to be on his side.
Yeah.
And that, might have not been the plan all along, but you don't know, Chai-Si's manipulative. She could be all like, I could get Kavik's brother on our side, because if I sleep with Kaleyn, if I get pregnant, and then now I'm intertwining the family, and how could he turn on his brother again? He didn't the first time. all of these conspiracies like pop into my head. His brother was straight manipulating him at that point, which I do believe that is his son. But yeah, there's got to be other lying implications.
We need Murray in here now.
Murray, we need a DNA test right now.
You are the father.
Oh my gosh. Like, after all the things that Katelyn did, I was just sitting there reading it, and I was just like, Kavik, I swear to God, you better do something. You better not sit there and be all up in your head. Do I betray Yangchen again? Do I say? And I was like, I swear to God, if you do, I will be so upset. And then when he finally takes a stand, I was like, yes.
That's the hard thing, is like, I expected him to, because he's already done it once. It would make sense, especially after he finds out about his family. That was like the whole spiel about the brothers, was that they were each other's weakness.
Yes.
And the second he was like, oh yeah, you're a nephew, yay! Yeah. Like, I was like, oh God, here we go. We're screwed. He did pull through in the end, so we'll give him 1 point.
Yes, we'll give him 1 point for that. The end, I mean, well, we got to talk about Ying-Su being alive, part of unanimity that you thought was dead. That was just such a phenomenal move.
Dude,
on
that got me.
Part. When all of a sudden you're reading and it flips to the chapter and it's her going and talking to Ying-Su, and I was like,
hello?
Wait, what? Hello?
Yeah.
What? Wow, you're not dead? I thought you were dead, because it starts with her asking, how that air nomad, Mingyu, she's all like, how's he doing?
Which was, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I love that scene when she like threw that man out of the building, because she was like, get out, I'm trying to save his life.
Yes.
And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that to me.
And then you're just like, oh my God.
And then like Kavik going out to try to catch him.
It doesn't matter what you do as the Avatar. There's going to be one person that's just like, oh my God, you threw me out. You're going to hear from this. You're going to hear about this. And she's just like,
I'm trying to save a man's life. Not just a man, but one of my close friends.
And, the significance of that Mingyu rides Feng Bo, which is Yujin's brothers, and now that's, terrible foreshadowing, but that's all she has left of Yujin is his brother, younger brother, and I'm just like, oh my God,
and then we also finding out about her sister, and like finally seeing her in the spirit world, and she's just like, what's up?
Right, what are you doing
she's
here?
Like, I'm just hanging out and like guiding these spirits along. Let me do my thing.
That was a little underwhelming.
It was,
wasn't it? Okay, good. I'm glad that you feel that way, because it's such a build-up. 2 whole books to find what she's been looking for, and she's just like, sup, sis? And you're just like, what do you mean, what's up? Like, what are you doing here? Like, it was a little underwhelming, I'm not gonna lie. I can't say that I didn't like the outcome. I don't really feel like we got a resolve from it, though. She just kind of sent her back on her way. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm here, I'm good. You can go now.
Like, I guess it's like a bittersweet moment. You have to live with your mistakes, but there is that peace of mind for Yangchen knowing that she's not suffering.
True.
And I think that's what she mostly wanted, was like, I took my sister's soul out of her body and I need to make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
Which was a heartbreaking chapter.
And which she does mention, Jetsun mentions that, oh, well, the spirit brought me back after I delivered you back to the physical realm. Yeah. And you're like, okay, because it was such a quick glimpse of what had happened. Yangchen ran into her, pushed her into the spirit realm, and then apparently Jetsun brought her back, but then the spirit brought Jetsun back. So ultimately her sister saved her too. And it's so quick that you get all this information all at once, and you're like, oh, whoa. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Yangchen did something when she was a kid that she did not know what she was doing. Ultimately could have been stuck in the spirit world herself, and then her sister brought her back only to get ripped back in by that crazy, awful mist spirit.
The beginning of where they were trying to explain it, I think it was more in the first book, was very confusing. Of like, did they both go into the spirit world together and like hang out, or like we just glazed over it?
But,
they did go into a little bit more detail in this one. It was a closure, but it wasn't as significant as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, agreed. I wanted a little bit more. I mean, it was a quick, page and a half, maybe 2 pages, that you get of closure with her. It's crazy because that was kind of what started the whole story. The whole story of Yangchen was her sister and getting pulled into the spirit world and her wanting to find her. And then we get a quick 2 pages of closure, you know? You're like, oh.
Because we get it at the beginning of the story. The story literally starts flashback, and then it ends. We don't get anything. Oh, well, I guess there's a one time when she goes in the spirit world, and then she goes through that, like, purgatory. But I just wish there was, like, pockets of grief, which is sad, because she's already going through so much. But almost like this, like, whiplash of, like, oh my god, yeah, my sister's gone. Where she's, like, remembering it. Like, especially she's home. There was plenty of opportunity where maybe they go to a table they used to always sit at, or, you know, where they always meditated. There could have been plenty of times where they could have thrown her sister back into the story to pull that timeline and that
absolutely. The only time was when they were playing that game, and they have to win her staff back, and I think her sister's initials are on it.
Oh yes,
but that's it. You know, it's such a small part that she was focused even more about the paint and the wings are getting tarnished and all these other things. And then it's her sister's initials, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it loses its significance. I guess you could play, like, devil's advocate as, like, she's got so many other big things in her life to focus on, so you see her sister kind of becoming less of a focus.
Yeah.
But I think as a reader, we should know where her priorities lie, and if her sister is one of them, it should be a bigger part in the story.
Yeah, like how it started.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if she's going into the spirit world looking for her sister. It should be a little bit more of a focus, but that is, of course, my own opinion.
Exactly, yes. Other people could be like, hey, that's not really the main focus, which is totally fine, because there is so much else that's going on, and the closure is enough for certain people, probably, because it might have not been as important, you know, to other readers, because it is, you know, she's not ultimately going to be able to come back. Her physical body's gone, so it's like, it's not like Yangchen can really save her.
Alrighty, let's switch it up a little bit and play a game.
All right.
So I have some names here, and some of them are spirits from the spirit world, and some of them are people from the people world.
From the people world. The people.
And so you need to list them based off of spirits or characters. So if you would like to list our spirits first.
All right, spirits. I'm going to go with the ones that I know are for sure. We got Rava. We have Heibai. We have Twee. And we have Ko. These two. Just going to go with it. I have Miki and Lohi. Those are the spirits.
Okay. Would you like to give us our humans now?
Humans. We have Chai Si, Master Liao, Tien. We have Gu. I think that's Instructor Gu.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Dao. I think it's Chu.
Alrighty. And then do you have a final category?
I do. We have a middle character category. We have Yangchen and the Painted Lady. And I'm putting them in the center because Yangchen is part human and part spirit. And then the Painted Lady is supposed to be a spirit, but is played by Katara.
Ooh.
So I put her in the center with Yangchen.
All right. So you got 3 of them wrong.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but all the rest right, yes. So I give you the Painted Lady because she is depicted as Katara, but she is the official spirit.
Yes, all right.
So we have 10. I think you have him under human, but he is a spirit. Kind of like the panda.
Okay.
He's like one of the animal spirits.
Got it.
So Miki is a human.
Oh my gosh. She's from Korra. Oh no. I can't believe I completely blanked on her.
That's okay.
Oh well, you go over there with the humans, Miki.
And the last one is Lohai. He is, I think he's just a random citizen from the Earth Kingdom.
Oh, well.
All right. Yay!
Yeah, that was fun. You got me on a couple.
Heck yeah. So is there anything that you would have done differently, would have changed if you were writing this book? This is purely your own opinions. So for example, I know we talked about it a ton. We talked about it a lot. I personally think this book could have had an extra 50 to 75 pages. Comparable to Kyoshi, it's a little bit thinner than Kyoshi was. So I think we could have taken an extra few dozen pages, and really emphasize on her sister. I think her sister is what was really missing from this story. Some things kind of moved very quickly. There was a central plot, but I think some things we shifted through really quick. There's some moments where we could have put a little bit more detail, maybe go into more of emotions, like what were they feeling at the time. I would have liked a little bit more distraction from Yangchen. Maybe she was a little too center focus on some stuff, more specifically during those moments of grief. I wish we would have saw, she mentioned that she wanted to do these things, like go into the avatar state. I wish there was moments where she kind of slipped.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah. I definitely agree. There, like after she lost Nugent, a little bit disrespected when they had that meeting right after he was killed. And I had said it earlier. I wished that she let go and slipped and just blew the building apart. It was just like. Or something
like a cup.
Right, or something in that aspect that showed them like, hey, don't mess with me. You really don't know who you're talking to, and I've had enough. She doesn't show them her power enough. Not that I want her to do it all the time, but like once or twice, she's very got that control over it, which I like, but yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit of some slip-ups with her, just to be like, you don't know how dark I can really be.
I think it would help show that, because she is that bridge, that humanity in her, is that she is the avatar, but she will make those emotional mistakes where she breaks down to her emotions, because it is a human thing to do, is where you let your emotions control what you do. And I would have liked to really see that within her. Purely my opinion. I don't think he did it bad in any way, because grief is such a hard thing to describe. And it's so many images. Like, there's so many ways to describe it. And I think the way that he did it makes sense. I just really would have liked to see that breakdown.
I really do agree on that.
But that's really all I got.
Other than maybe the companions kind of getting together a little bit more, because they were so separated, and she was with Kavik for 95% of the time, I did really enjoy that him and Junjita and Yangchen went on that little hiatus together to find that island. It was a nice break from just her and Kavik all the time. A couple more missions where the group is split up. You do get to kind of have like, maybe Akudan comes with Kavik and her, because they need another waterbender. Nitpicky. But that's really all like missed opportunity that I can think of, just getting the party split up in different ways, because in the OG, they split up all the time. You got Katara going with Toph, you got Toph and Suki and Sokka, you got Aang and Zuko, you got it gets split up to where you get to, see how they all work together in different ways. You really don't get that a lot with Yangchen. It's mostly always just her and Kavik.
And you get a lot of solo trips in the main too, with Aang. Like, you even get like the whole, like, even Momo gets his own solo trip. Yeah. Like, you get to see, and of course it's what storytelling purposes. There was reasons why, but it was cool to see them solo and like being able to like make rash decisions without the impact of other people. Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing was the spirit world trips with Yangchen. Was the only time that she was like truly alone. But again, she is alone as the avatar. It's like, it is a very thin line to cross. So that makes sense. So we mentioned a little bit earlier, but we do have some books coming out. We have The Reckoning of Roku and The Awakening of Roku, but they're not written by FCE. They are written by Randy Ribba, which I am very nervous because I haven't read anything by him. So I am nervous because he has very big shoes to fill. I am excited to see what he does. But what are some predictions in the upcoming books?
I kind of want to see a little bit more of his, maybe married life when he comes back to the Fire Nation. We only get such a small synapse of that where he, marries the love of his life. And that's when Sozin comes to him and is like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. They stop it right then and there. Kind of fast forwards a little bit, and they have an altercation, and then it fast forwards again to when he's older. I don't really want to see him growing up. I don't need to know his childhood. Mm-hmm. You know that he was best friends with Sozin, the Prince of the Fire Nation. We know that already. So he grew up kind of in royalty already. I don't really care to see all that or learn about that. I want to know what he did when he got married. What was his journeys after that? Does he have kids? We don't know that.
Isn't Zuko's mom his grandfather? father? I could have saw... Okay, so Zuko's mom was the daughter of...
Oh, right. So, okay,
Avatar.
so family tree-wise, I would like to know a little bit more about that. You know, I mean, she's got to get brought in somehow. I'm thinking we get a little bit more backing on the royalty aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Of like what's going on within Fire Nation royalty, you know, their secrets and, you know, what Sozin's doing. And he could kind of be a little bit like Yangchen and have to go around and get all this information. He does mention in the OG that he wasn't very, you know, adamant about that. He was kind of laxed about it. You know, he didn't really take a lot of stance against the war and he didn't really do a lot. So I can only imagine that probably see a lot of mistakes that he made. You know, what did he do in his spare time? So it didn't seem like he really cared a lot about the spirits, you know? So what did he really do when he wasn't, you know, avoiding the war and trying to stop it? So what did Roku really focus on?
What the heck did this guy do?
Yeah, what did he do? Really though?
What was so reckoning about his history? Like... I would like to see, maybe he's already had his daughter, and maybe we're already seeing Ozai. Maybe he's coming here proposing. Like, I'm as far as that. Like, I want to see how far it goes. I definitely think we're going to get more fighting, like Agni Kai's. Firebenders are such, like, fighting.
Yeah, they're very much warriors.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot more bending in this one.
Which is kind of nice considering... We didn't get a lot of firebending, you know, in Yangchen. We got it in Kyoshi, but now we're, you know, 2 books ahead of that. You know, that was years ago that, you know, we got Rangi and the Kyoshi series. So it will be nice to get a little bit more backing on the Fire Nation. We have a lot more history with the Earth Kingdom, and we have even the Water Tribe. Agna Kala, what the Northern Water Tribe is actually called. You know, it's not just the Northern Water Tribe, it's Agna Kala. Like, they have their own actual continent name. Learning more history about all the other nations, we don't really have a lot on the Fire Nation.
Yeah, and that was my biggest thing, is like, I will sit down and read an entire history book about the Fire Nation. Like, I feel like they are the most secretive. They are the ones that, like, have... this whole history that the world has no clue about. And I want to know it. I want to know the origins of the Agni Kais. And I want to know more. I'm sure we're going to get more of Sparky Boom Man. Like, I'm sure we're going to get more history on that. Lightning. And, like, I want to know more about the things that they've been hiding for so long.
Yeah. Because unanimity clearly is still around. Because they're still in the OG. Yeah. So they're still making them.
Yeah.
And I say make because they literally are making them.
Manufactured.
Manufactured.
Yeah.
You know, they have to be chosen with specific abilities. And then, by all intents and purposes, almost tortured into learning this ability.
Which is crazy. I always thought that they were born inbred.
Yeah.
They were born like a normal firebender.
And then just have these different senses that they're like, oh, I can do this. And all of a sudden they sneeze and they're blowing something up. You know what I mean? Like, no, they have to be transitioned into that ability. And it is not a good way to do it.
I hope we see some Yangchen and Kyoshi in the Avatar stay in, like, spirit world. I'd love to see them. Hey, girls.
That would be cool.
Girls.
That would be cool, because Yangchen doesn't really call upon her past lives at all. I mean, Sato, maybe like once or twice you get him a little bit, but it's more so her being kind of mad at him. She's a little angsty against him, because she's like, everybody compares me to you, and you didn't really even do anything.
Yeah.
You just helped the Fire Nation majority of the time.
Yeah.
You know? And now I'm being compared to you because... you got them out of such economical failure. So I'm really hoping, that Roku maybe calls upon his past lives a little more, and maybe we get to see how to stop this war, which obviously doesn't work.
I think we're going to get a lot of the beginning of the war. Yeah. Of the actual domino effect of what started it.
Yeah.
Like, I think we'll definitely get that. For the overarching series, I think we're going to get one more cycle, because we got to finish the cycle. We got Earth, Air, Fire. We gotta get Water.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Kurik's story.
We have to have Kurik.
I hope it's Kurik.
I really do too. I mean, and everybody talks so much crap about him, and I would really like his story to get out there, because, you know, I know he died. He was one of the youngest ones to die. Talks crap about him.
Yeah, just wrote him off.
Yeah, just wrote him off like he wasn't really even an avatar, because he wasn't around for so long.
Yeah, but he did so much behind the scenes.
He did.
And that's the one I honestly think I'm most excited about. Love my girls, but I think his story is going to be so intriguing.
It will, because it's short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's going to be a lot crammed into his books. We'll get a full-on story from, like, childhood to almost death.
I mean, and compared to Kyoshi, who lived, 250 years? Something like that? Like, it's just crazy. Mm-hmm. But I'm really excited to see, because that will be a great book to really dive into the spirit world.
Yeah.
Because as much as information we have, it's like the ocean. We know like 10% of it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, we could go on and on. But we must come to a close. And unfortunately, we have reached the end.
Yes, we have.
But before we go, we do one last thing. We do the rating scale. But we do it a little bit different here on we make up our own thing. So I would give The Legacy of Yangchen by F.C. Yi 5 games of pie show with a white lotus tile up my sleeve out of 5. 5 out of 5. I loved it. I sat down and read this whole book in one sitting. I just gobbled it right up. I loved it. I think it was great. Of course, there were some things that I would have changed, would have done differently, but it in no way affected the story. I think the story was told in a very well done way, and the pacing was really, really good. The characters were really good. So I think in the final installment of Yangchen's story, I think it was very well done.
I would give The Legacy of Yangchen, whole cute little family of turtle ducks, 5 out of 5. It was such a great, smooth read. It flowed so well. You didn't want to put it down. I mean, even after what happened with Nugent, I put it down to compose myself and I picked it right back up. Yeah, it was a whole old cute little family of turtle ducks eating bread, from your hand. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It's been an Avatar day. I met May today.
I was going to ask how that went.
I met Cricket. Oh my god, she is amazing. Oh my god, she's like the mom of like your friend group. Learned today she's a social worker. I did not know that, and she's like a therapist, and it was really cool meeting her today. I got her autograph. She went to the Avatar orchestra that's happening today, which is so sad. I wanted to be there.
I wanted to be there too.
I hope she enjoys it.
I couldn't afford $400 and some for 2 tickets, so unfortunately.
We'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah, here we go.
She was amazing. She was so kind. She was telling me about this group chat that they have, where she's like, we all hang out and like talk to each other in the group chat. She's like, we send little pictures of turtle ducks in, and yes. And I'm like, that's very cute. But she was very down to earth. I was like kind of nervous to meet her because it's like, she's a celebrity.
Yeah.
So, but she was so sweet, so easy to talk to.
That's awesome.
So shout out Cricket. You should come onto the podcast.
Please, yes. Gonna tag you in this. Listen to our podcast for sure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is the one I look forward to every single year.
Absolutely.
I love this. And we will see you next year, November.
So much to look forward to. So keep on listening, guys.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.